Today, I have an email from Francesca who says, "Hi, Patrick. The doctors in ICU want my husband off the ventilator and keep him comfortable and let him die. I want him to have a tracheostomy and a PEG and come home with 24-hour nursing care with intensive care at home. He had a heart attack, then congested heart failure, and then he actually contracted COVID in the hospital. Can he go home with intensive care at home?" My name is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecareathome.com, and let's look at Francesca's email today in detail. So, whilst you haven't shared how long your husband has been in hospital, if the ICU team wants to make him quote unquote comfortable and let him die, that can never happen without patient or family consent. If it was to happen without patient or family consent, that could be perceived as euthanasia, could be perceived as murder, and instead the alternative here is to do a trach and a PEG and let him go home with intensive care at home. Patients and families need to have choice, right? And intensive care units need to have alternatives to empty their ICU beds instead of letting people die. And that is just a reality, right? The first question that I have here is, what's the urgency to kill someone? Where's the urgency? Where's the rush to kill someone if the family has a different path in mind for their loved one, right? We're dealing with humans here, not with numbers, right? And what always helps in a situation like that as well is if there's an advanced care plan, right? So where it's documented what patients or families want in a situation like this. But to let someone die without an alternative going home, and even if that includes palliative care at home, like end-of-life care at home, that's still a good option because patients and families want to have end-of-life situations on their terms, not on intensive care teams' terms. So it's very simple, and once your husband has a trach and a PEG, and once he's medically stable, right, his ventilator settings are optimized, his medications are optimized, then it's time for him to go home. It's very simple. We set up the home care for situations like that. We have so many case studies on our website. We've been doing intensive care at home since 2012. We are very experienced. We employ hundreds of years of critical care nursing experience combined in the community. And we provide evidence-based services, right? Just like ICUs provide evidence-based services, right? So by your husband having a trach and a PEG, that is the time when he can come home. That's assuming he can't be weaned off the ventilator. You haven't shared much information here whether there is a chance of him coming off the ventilator, but I presume that if the intensive care team is pushing for end of life, that he cannot come off the ventilator. But that would need to be verified either in a discussion with the intensive care team or by looking at medical records. So what needs to happen next? What needs to happen next is your home or your husband's home or your family home, needs a hospital bed, needs to probably have a ceiling hoist or a hoist, a lifting machine, bedside ventilators, bedside suction machines, bedside monitors, but also a transport ventilator, transport suction machine, because all of our clients, without exception, have community access. So, instead of end of life, we are talking here about community access. All of our clients, without exception, have community access. That means they're going out, they're living a good quality of life in the comfort of their own home. And they're going out, they're going shopping, they're going to visit their relatives, so their relatives can visit them in their home. It's not dependent on ICU schedules or ICU visiting times. It's dependent on the life that our families and our clients want to live, free of judgment from doctors or nurses, who think that end of life is the best option here. We don't play God. We want to give patients and families a choice. We want to give patients and families a chance, but we're also giving intensive care units a chance to empty their ICU beds, right, and save money. And still, achieve their objectives, which is free up ICU beds. Because I know, I've worked in critical care nursing for 25 years myself, and I've worked as a nurse manager in intensive care for over 5 years. So I know how ICUs operate. And I know the bottlenecks in ICU. The bottlenecks in ICU is always not having enough beds, not having enough staff. One way for ICUs to empty beds is by letting patients die. We are providing the alternative here. The alternative is that we bring intensive care into your home, right? Improve quality of life and manage that at home. Can all be done. You know, intensive care at home nursing services have been around for over 25 years in Germany, since 2012 in Australia, and it's evidence-based. Just have a look at our evidence-based mechanical home ventilation guidelines and you can see it and read it for yourself. From an intensive care unit perspective, we are cutting the cost of an intensive care bed by around 50%. That's 50. We are freeing up an ICU bed, and that's a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation for everyone. And clearly, the patients and families are asking for that, right? Clearly, right? And if patients and family are asking for it, right, and intensive care teams want to move towards palliative care and end-of-life care, clearly they can't read the room, what patients and families actually want. Also, you know, for home care, you know, we will help you with advocating for the funding. The funding is never an issue. You know, once again, the funding body will have an interest in cutting the cost of the ICU bed by 50%. They will have an interest. You know, why would they pay $5,000 to $6,000 per bed day if, you know, intensive care at home is a viable option for half of the cost? Right? Once again, it's a no-brainer. And also, one of our specialties is to create teams, you know, for home care that are suitable for our client environment, you know, working with teams that are the right fit for our clients. You know, that's part of what we do. Whereas in an intensive care unit, you just get allocated random nurses, you know, that come and go. Whereas, you know, we are creating teams that want to work with you over the long term. So, with intensive care at home, we are currently sending our critical care nurses into the home 24 hours a day. Therefore, we are providing a genuine alternative to a long-term stay in intensive care for ventilation, tracheostomy, home BiPAP, home CPAP, ventilation without tracheostomy, and tracheostomy care without ventilation, home TPN, home IV potassium infusions, and home IV magnesium infusions, IV fluids, and IV antibiotics. We're also providing cough assist management at home, ventilation weaning at home. We're also providing central line, PIG line, Hickman's line, as well as port management at home. We're also providing nasogastric tube and PEG tube management at home, as well as palliative care management at home. We're also sending our critical care nurses into the home for emergency department bypass services. We have done so successfully as part of the Western Sydney Local Area Health District, their In Touch program, saving approximately $2,000 per patient that we keep at home instead of them going to an emergency department. That means we're also in a position to cut the cost of an intensive care bed by around 50%. An intensive care bed costs between $5,000 to $6,000 per bed day. Intensive care at home costs between $2,500 to $3,000 per bed day, and we're freeing up the most sought after bed in the hospital, which is the ICU bed. Most importantly, we're improving the quality of life for patients and their families, which is a win-win situation for all stakeholders. With intensive care at home, we are currently operating all around Australia, in all major capital cities, as well as in all regional and rural areas. We're an NDIS-approved service provider all around Australia, TAC and WorkSafe in Victoria, iCare in New South Wales, NIISQ, as well as the Department of Veteran Affairs all around Australia. Our clients and we as a service provider have also received funding through public hospitals, private health funds, as well as departments of health. We are the only service provider in Australia that has achieved third-party accreditation for intensive care at home nursing in 2025. We have been achieving this high level of accreditation since 2012. No other provider has achieved this high level of accreditation in the community and has created more intellectual property for intensive care at home nursing than we have. This puts us in a position to employ hundreds of years of critical care nursing experience combined in the community. No other service provider in 2025 employs a higher skill level in the community than we do, And that enables us to look after the highest acuity adults and children in the community in Australia safely. If you're at home already and you're watching this, or you're stuck in an ICU and you realize that you don't have the right level of support, I'll give you a very tangible and real-world example today how we can help. One of our first clients, when we first got started over 10 years ago in 2012, was a client who was at home initially on a ventilator with a tracheostomy with a support worker model 24/7. Of course, disability support workers are dangerous looking after ventilation and tracheostomy clients, and it's negligent having support workers look after a client at home on a ventilator with a tracheostomy. That is like flying the airplane with the cabin crew instead of the pilot, because many patients in the community on a ventilator with a tracheostomy, even with a tracheostomy without a ventilator, have died under a support worker model. And I can confirm that. I have evidence for everything that I'm saying here. And therefore, anyone on a ventilator with a tracheostomy is at very high risk of medical emergencies, or even worse, if they don't have a stable team of critical care nurses looking after them 24/7. This is actually evidence-based in the community and is documented in our mechanical home ventilation guidelines that you can find on our website at intensivecarehome.com. Think about it, in intensive care, in an intensive care unit, in a hospital, you wouldn't have support workers looking after a critical care patient on a ventilator with a tracheostomy. So why would anyone in their right mind would do that in a home care environment? So eventually, this client found out about us, and the intensive care unit found out about us. We were proving our concept with this ventilated and tracheostomy client very fast. When we worked with this ventilated and tracheostomy client, we sent him intensive care nurses 24 hours a day, and he never ever went back into ICU ever again when we were proving our concept there very fast. We can do the same for you. If you're not safe at home, which includes the advocacy for funding that goes along with it, which ties in with today's topic. We have always successfully advocated for our clients, otherwise we would not be in business. Same applies for those stuck in an ICU. Similar to many of our other cases, to what you're looking for, please reach out to us as well. We'll make it happen for you as well. We can take you through the right steps. This is also why we are providing level 2 and level 3 NDI support coordination. We have a team of NDI support coordinators, and they have a wealth of knowledge. I've done an interview with Amanda Riches, one of our NDI support coordinators, and I'll put a link to an interview with Amanda in the written version of this blog below the video. We're also providing TAC case management and WorkSafe case management in Victoria with Lucy McCotter. And if you're an NDI support coordinator or a case manager from another organization watching this and you're looking for nursing care for your participants, please reach out to us as well. If you're looking for funding for nursing care for your participants and you don't know how to go about it and how to advocate for it or what evidence to provide, I encourage you to reach out to us as well. We will help you with the right level of funding and with the right level of advocacy. We're also providing NDI specialist nursing assessments done by critical care nurses with a legal nurse consulting background. And if you're a critical care nurse and you're looking for a career change and you want to join a very progressive, dynamic, and high-performing team of critical care nurses, we are employing hundreds of years of critical care nursing experience combined. If you are looking for a career change, we're currently hiring for jobs for critical care nurses in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, in Albury, Wodonga, in Bendigo, in Geelong, and in Warragul in Victoria. If you have worked in critical care nursing for a minimum of 2 years, pediatric ICU, ED, and you have already completed postgraduate critical care nursing qualification, we will be absolutely delighted hearing from you. I have a disclaimer though, because we are offering a tailor-made solution for our clients, which includes regular staff. Our clients also do want the same staff coming over and over again because they are so vulnerable and so special. That's why we need regular staff. So if you're looking for agency work where you can come and go, this will not be the right fit for you. We are looking for consistency, and our clients are looking for consistency. So please only apply with us if you can give us regular and consistent availabilities for shifts, and you're really keen on building relationships with us and with our clients. And if you're an intensive care specialist or an ED specialist, we also want to hear from you. We're currently expanding our medical team as well. We can also help you eliminate your bed blocks in your ICU and in your ED for your long-term patients or for your regularly readmitting patients with our critical care nursing team at home. We're here to help you take the pressure off your ICU and ED beds, and in most cases, you won't even pay for it. Even if you do pay for it, It is so much more cost effective than what you're paying for in ICU and ED setting for, and you get the same level of care and simply more patient and family satisfaction. And if you're a hospital executive watching this and you have bed blocks in your ICU, ED, and respiratory wards, home TPN, please reach out to us as well. We can help you eliminate your bed blocks very fast. If you're in the US or in the UK and you're watching this and you need help, we want to hear from you as well. We can help you there privately with one-on-one consulting and with hiring nurses privately. Once again, our website is intensivecareathome.com. Call us on one of the numbers on the top of our website or simply send us an email to info@intensivecareathome.com. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel for regular updates for families with intensive care at home and intensive care. Click the like button, click the notification bell, share this video with your friends and families, and comment below what you want to see next and what you think about this video. Thank you so much for watching. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecareathome.com, and I will talk to you in a few days. Take care for now.